Welcome to the Wargaming Garage and part 2 of the narrative campaign, The Malignant Dawn. Saw the Order of the Burning Shield, known as the Black Watch, investigate Temic V, which had gone silent after broadcasting a message for assistance. And if you've not watched that part already, then I'll put a link up in the top corner. Go and check it out as it sets up this part of the story. For part 2, the other Imperial forces have also responded to the plea for assistance, notably the Ghosts of the Forge, the Salamander's successors, or on their way to becoming the Ghosts of the Forge. We join them partway through their story, and this is aboard their battle barge, where they're about to deploy forces down onto the planet's surface, again to investigate any particular reasons why comms have shut down, why the planet's gone dark. So this will be a 1,000-point mission, 1,000 points of Death Guard and 1,000 points of Firstborn Space Marines. And again, it's going to be a narrative mission which basically has its own objectives. There won't be any objective markers down on the table or anything. This will be telling its own story of a conflict between the Death Guard, the Heralds of the Scourge warband, and the Ghosts of the Forge, the Space Marines. So let's have a look at the armies, and then we'll have a little talk about the mission itself. So we'll start with the Space Marines, and here is exactly 1,000 points. For once I've managed to get the list to actually sit at 1,000 points. But there's 1,000 points of Space Marines, led today by the chaplain in Terminator armour. So he's had a couple of upgrades, notably he is the Master of Sanctity, and he has the Mantra of Strength and the Exhortation of Rage, as well as the Litany of Hate. So along with the Warlord trait, the Anvil of Strength. So he's going to be relatively beefy. He's going to be a bit of a beat stick if I can get him into combat, because he's also running the relic, the Benediction of Fury. So he's going to be it's going to be particularly meaty when he gets into combat. It didn't make sense for me to run a different warlord today, and I'll come on to that shortly. So he's a warlord for today. The chaplain is rousing up the troops and getting them ready for this conflict they find themselves in. He's backed up today by a librarian in Terminator armour. A relic's been a CP's been spent on a relic for him, which is a Tome of Malcador. So he knows 3 psychic powers, which would be Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, and Psychic Fortress. They're normally the 3 that I tend to run. In the elite slots today, a unit I've not ran for quite some time, one of the first units I ever painted when I got back into the hobby, which is the Sternguard Veterans. So pretty bog standard. They are what they are. He's got a bolter and a power sword on the sergeant, and then the 2 heavy weapons are a heavy flamer and a heavy bolter. The other elite slot is taken up with some assault Centurions with melter guns, and then in the troop slots we've got 3 squads of tactical marines. Again, they are what you can see. So this first squad here, standard sergeant, standard bolt guns, and a flamer at the back. Then this squad, standard sergeant, standard bolt guns, and a las cannon. And then this squad here, a sergeant with a thunder hammer and plasma pistol, standard bolters, and a missile launcher at the rear. Then a fast attack, ready for deep strike, or they would have been deep striking onto the planet, is a squad of assault marines. Again, exactly as you see them, and the sergeant has a plasma pistol. So that's the Space Marines. That's the Ghosts of the Forge. So let's see what the Death Guard have to bring today. And here are the Death Guard. It's precisely 993 points on my forehead by the looks of things. But again, due to points in different bits, that's as much as I could get in, and I think this will be enough. I think, we'll see. So the Lord of Virulence is on the planet's surface, and he's taking care of business down there at the moment. And again, see part 1 if you want to see more about that. But heading this attack up onto the battle barge will be Captain Trips, the Lord of Contagion. So he's the Warlord for today, and his Warlord trait will be Arch Contaminator, and he has the relic, the Reaper of Glorious Entropy, so a beefed up scythe essentially. So he's looking to lead the attack, and he's his second in command today is his Psyker, the Malignant Plaguecaster, again, who's had who knows 3 powers again, because he's had a relic spent on him, the Putrid Periapt, which his 3 are going to be the Curse of the Leper, Miasma of Pestilence, and Putrescent Vitality, which is the 3 I normally run on that Psyker. In the elite slot today for the Death Guard, we've got a squad of Death Shroud, all with obviously with the Man Reaper scythes, nothing else spent on them. We've got a squad of Blight Lords, Blight Lord Terminators, again all running swords, and combi bolters, apart from the champion who's running an axe and a combi bolter, so I can tell the difference. And we've got a Reaper cannon and a flail. In the troop slots, we've got 3 squads of Plague Marines. The first squad is champion with a power fist, bolters, flail, and an axe. The second squad is again power fist, plasma pistol, blight launcher, and cleaver, and bolt guns. And then the last squad is a standard champion, all with bolt guns. Everyone's got bolt guns in this squad, barring the special weapon guy at the back with the plasma gun. So that's the Death Guard. So let's have a little chat about the mission. So in this mission today, again, it's a narrative mission. There's no, not the traditional sort of GT or Eternal War kind of objectives. We're going to deploy in a hammer and anvil, so the Death Guard will be here and the Space Marines will be up here, and the Space Marines are defending this gateway further into the ship towards the bridge. So what's happened is, as the Ghosts of the Forge have translated out of the warp, they've approached Temic V, everything is quiet, and then essentially the Death Guard have launched their attack. The klaxons start to sound, the boarding torpedoes are fired, and the Death Guard has launched their attack onto the Ghost of the Forge battle barge in order to bring it down, take control of it. So that's where we'll join the conflict, where the Death Guard have made some headway. They've boarded the battle barge over here, and they're starting to make their way through this loading bay, and they go further into the ship to take control of it. So that being said, we'll get everything set up, and we'll look at the first turn. So here we are after deployment. Death Guard have deployed mainly with a castle unit in the centre. As they're moving through sector by sector, they've just worked their way through from the back end of this cargo bay, and they're working their way through inexorably moving forward to their point of getting through to the bridge area. They've deployed a couple of units either side, and again we're working our way around to the Space Marines. Very similar, only they've castled up over more towards the right hand side of their deployment zone. So the Centurions, the Chaplain, Librarian, Stern Guard, Fast Attack, they're all over this side, with a couple of squads of Marines over this side. Just a note about the terrain. Essentially the vehicles are obviously not in use today. They're being filled with all the munitions and fuel that they need to get down to the planet's surface, and then be used in any conflicts down there. But for today's battle, they're going to be just essentially containers. So they'll have they're scalable. You're exposed on top, but you do get light cover if you're within 3 inches, and so pretty much everything on here is going to be used as a container, obviously apart from the pipe work, etc., which is barricades and does halt any movement by 2 inches. So that is the deployment, and that's the table. Now, I've been thinking a lot around who would get first turn, and I think in this instance I think I will roll off for it, because although the Death Guard have launched a surprise attack, the Space Marines have had the advance warning, they've had the klaxons go in there, they've mobilised their forces as best they can in order to defend this area of the ship. So for today it'll be white for the Space Marines and red for the Death Guard. So let's roll off to see who gets first turn. That's Space Marines. Interesting. Okay, so on to Space Marines. Space Marines turn 1. But to be clear, the objective is any Death Guard unit that makes its way through here is a win for the Death Guard. So all the Space Marines have to do is prevent one unit from getting through, and that will be their win conditions. For the Death Guard, getting a unit through is their win conditions. So on to Space Marines, turn 1. Okay, so I'm just at the start of the command phase. Just need to do a couple of bits, just do his litanies. He's going to put, because his Master Sanctity, he can recite 2. So he is going to do a litany of he's going to actually do the Mantra of Strength upon himself, which goes off, and he's going to do the Exhortation of Rage, and he's going to put that on to the Assault Squad, which also goes off. So at the end of the movement phase for the Ghosts, the Standing Guard veterans have advanced up to try and get cover behind that set of containers there. This squad of Marines have moved out, and this squad of fast attack have advanced forward. This squad moved across again, advancing forward, whilst this squad have fell back alongside the Centurions, the Psycho and the Chaplain, to sort of start to put barriers in the way down this objective here. So that's movement complete. It's going to be a pretty short turn, I think, this turn, because there's not many viable targets for the Ghost to fire at. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast the Psychic Fortress and try and ensure a 5-up invuln where we need it. And that goes off. So everything within that 6 inches is got a 5-up invuln. So with that, we'll move on to the Space Marine shooting phase. So again, there's not much shooting going on because of range, advancing, etc. So and cover, the way the Death Guard have set themselves up. So we paid a CP for this squad here for steady advance. So it means we get to double tap and we get to hit on 3s with the missile launcher. So we'll start off. We're going to go into this squad of Death Shroud here, because they need something whittling down. So hitting on 3s, not bad. Wounding on 5s, excellent. So crack missile, excellent. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll come round to this squad here. We've got this las cannon, and this guy here can see that squad of Plague Marines behind the container. So we'll start with the bolter, which misses, excellent, and we'll then go on to the las cannon, which hits, the las cannon, which wounds, and it fails to save. So D6 damage. 5 CP. I don't really want to. No, I'll wear it. Took 1 damage from my last cannon. Anyway. So that phenomenal shooting phase, where I think these guys must have gone to the Stormtrooper School of Shooting, more basically brings the turn to an end. There's obviously no charges, nothing's in range, but we set ourselves up anyway for the longer game. We're defending this objective. That is our main point. It doesn't matter what we throw at the enemy. We've got to throw them. We've got to make sure that they do not cross. Into the bridge. So that being said, it's Death Guard, turn 1. So at the end of the Death Guard's movement phase, we brought this squad around, start making an advance down this channel, down the outside. Here we brought the Death Shroud, basically from one cover to another cover. Terminators have moved around with the Lord of Contagion. This squad of Plague Marines has moved over, and the Psycho advanced over to this side, whilst this squad of Marines advanced around this side. So with movement complete, we'll head on to the psychic phase. So the psych is going to do smite into this squad here that you can see. So looking for a smite, looking for a 5. And it goes off on a 6 for 1 wound. And then we're going to do Miasma of Pestilence onto the squad of Marines in front of him, which also goes off. There's nothing in pestilential fallout range, so it's just the 1 mortal wound done to this squad over here. So that being done, we move on to the shooting phase. So we'll start the shooting phase with this squad, firing everything into this squad of fast attack assault marines up the top here. So because Death Guard are what they are, they get to double tap all of the time. So that's 8 bolter shots coming into that squad. That's some good shooting. Strength 4, toughness 4, because contagion's not there yet. So force to wound. So 4 wounds. The Marines are on top, so they do not get any benefit of cover, but it's still a 3-up save. 1 dies, apparently. Excellent. And then the plasma, which misses. Okay. So the Death Shroud are all in range, so they will have the Plague Spurt Gauntlet, so 3d6 for 15. So that's 15 auto hits, but it's strength 3, so it will be 5s to wound. So that's 4 wounds again, no minus, so 4-ups. 3-ups. Yeah, okay, kills another one. So we're going to work our way around, and now we've started on that fast attack squad. I think we're going to try and carry on. So we're going to put all these shots from this squad of Blight Lords into that fast attack squad at the top there. So that's 12 shots, 12 bolt shots, hitting on 3s and rerolling 1s because of the Lord. Wounding on 4s. So 3 3-ups. Let's see if we can save one this time. Oh my. No, apparently not. Number 3 goes. And then 4 from the Reaper Cannon. And rerolling that 1. So 3 hits, a strength 7, so 3s to wound. So 2 wounds at -2, becoming -1. Kills a 4th one. Oh my god. So that leaves the poor lonely sergeant regretting his life choices on top of that container for now. So let's move round to the last squad to shoot, which will be this squad of Plague Marines, and they're going to put everything into this squad of Space Marines just here. So we'll start with the bolters. They all hit. There's 3 wounds, and they are next to cover, so it's a 2-up save this time, and they're fine. Blight Launcher, both miss. Try and get rid of 1. No, I will leave it and keep the CP ready for some melee stuff later maybe. Okay, so that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. We'll do a morale for the sergeant, which he fails, so that squad is gone. Okay, so that loses that squad. So not a bad start for the Death Guard. They've managed to remove one obstacle from their way as they start their slow but unending march towards their objective. So let's see what the Space Marines can do in turn 2. And so at the start of Space Marines turn 2, the Chaplain managed to get the Litany of Faith off, but didn't get his Mantra of Strength off. This squad of Space Marines has moved round to start protecting the objective, as has the Chaplain, and then the Assault Centurions and the Librarian. They're heading their way forward, again trying to limit or probably the next couple of turns they'll spread themselves out over this area and try and protect, be the first wall against this objective. Whereas this squad of Space Marines, the Stern Guard veterans, and this squad of Space Marines have moved up the board, again trying to do some movement blocking and limit the following, limit turn 2 for the Death Guard somewhat. So that being said, let's get on to the Psychic phase. The only thing the Psychic can do, the Librarian can do at the moment, is really the Psychic Fortress, so that's what it'll do. And it goes off. So everyone's got a 5-up-in run for this squad and this squad. So that being done, on to the shooting phase. Okay, we join us halfway through the shooting phase for the Space Marines. This squad's fired out everything into the Death Shroud, causing no damage whatsoever. This squad have fired out into the Plague Marines, and they've caused a couple of wounds, but they were saved using cover. So now it's on to the last cannon, and he's going to fire into the Death Shroud over there. So can he hit? No. Let's use a CP. He hits, wounds, and it's saved. Okay, so that will move on to the Stern Guard veterans. So the 2 bolters so far have fired and managed to cause 1 wound to the Death Guard, to the Plague Marines. So we'll then use the heavy flamer for 4. Nothing. And then we'll use the Sergeant's bolter. Both hits. No wounds. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll spend a CP on Hellfire shells. So if it hits, it does a mortal wound, and we can blink off that Plague Marine. So, okay, that was a CP well spent. Excellent. So there's really only a couple of eligible charges. I've got to really think about whether I want to make them or not. We've got a charge here to that squad of Plague Marines, and a charge here to that squad of Plague Marines, or obviously both of these into that squad there. I need to think about whether I want to do it, because I'm not wanting to just throw away assets if I can help it, but I do know that come the next turn, Death Guard's turn 2, they're going to get charged. So whilst I've held them up, it's a spicy one to sort of think about whether we just have this line followed by the secondary line they've kind of got to get through and hope for the best. I think I'll take the fight to them. Okay, this squad will charge. The stone guards won't. And they're in. Excellent. So after the pile-in, we managed to stay away from the playcaster, stay out of 1 inch of engagement range. So there's nothing special in the squad. There's no special weapons or anything. So we're just going to go for volume of hits if we can. So we have Hungry for Battle and Whirlwind of Rage. So the first round of attacks gets extra hits on 6s. So here we go. Oh. So here's the tricky part, the 5s and 6s to wound. And 2 go through. Which is fine, they're all fine. Okay, so now the fight back. So because of how we've positioned everything and we're preventing the pile-in by the champion, it means he won't get to fight, but we'll start with the plague knives. And they all hit, bar 1. Strength 4, toughness 3 now because of contagion. So 3s to wound, re-rolling 1s. No 1s to re-roll. So -1 becomes minus nothing, but it does kill that 1-on-1 wound. And now the plague cleaver, hitting on 4s because it's unwieldy. Both hit. 2s, re-rolling 1. Okay. I think he's fine. No, it's -3 becomes -2, so they're not. So D6 damage on the first one, kills 1. D6 damage on the second one, kills 1. Okay, so that's 3 gone from that squad. Okay. So that marks the end of the Space Marine turn. So we've tied the unit up in combat far up the battle sector. Let's see what the death card can do turn 2. So at the end of the death card movement phase, the playcaster stayed in with this squad because moving him out wouldn't have given him, he'd have lost his cover really. So we're going to leave him there with that squad. And Death Shroud and Blight Lords have moved forward along with the Lord of Contagion, and this squad of Plague Marines has advanced around the side here. And this squad of Plague Marines is starting to make its way in from this right hand flank for the Death Guard, making a beeline for the Stone Guard. Okay, so that's movement complete. Let's look at Psychic phase. So we're going to start with a Smite, getting the psychic powers in the right order really. So if we're going to start with a Smite into this squad, and then from that we'll see what else we've got a choice to do, which would be probably a buff or maybe Curse of the Leper, depending on what happens. So let's look for a Smite, and that goes off. As the Librarian's not in range, and that is for the big 3, so kills 1 and puts 1 down to 1 wound. Because it goes off on a 7, it also does an additional mortal wound, so that kills that unit. Okay, so what we'll now do is Curse of the Leper on the Stern Guard squad. Let's see what we can do. And it goes off just. So this is going to be a bit more difficult because there's no one's in contagion range. So let's see what we get. So just the one mortal wound on that. Obviously a bit more powerful when you get into contagion range. Okay, so that's psychic phase, decent psychic phase there. Let's move on to shooter. With this squad here, the champion's out of range. We're going to put the 2 bolters into the stern guard squad, then we're going to put the blight launcher into this squad at the back. See if we start whittling that second line of defence around. So we'll start with the bolters. Force to wound. And 2 up save because they're near the container, and they're fine. So now the blight launcher, both hit, 3s to wound, 1 wound, and they're fine. Okay, so weathered the storm there. So we'll move on to this squad of Plague Marines again into the stern guard. And the bolter shots rang out from that squad into the stern guard, but again they weathered the storm. So far so good. So now we're going to move round to the Death Shroud. They're going to put everything into this squad here, and then we'll go from there. But I think that the Blight Lords are probably going to either, if they've got the range, we'll start to try and have a go at the Assault Centurions. But anyway, let's start with the Death Shroud. So 3d6 for 8. And strength 3, so 5s to wound, 1 wound. It goes through. I'll re-roll that one because it's plague weapon actually. So it's 2 wounds. Oh my god! Kills 1. So everything from the Blight Lords is going to go into these Assault Centurions and see if they start to whittle some wounds off. The idea being that we'll leave the fate of these Marines in the hands of the Death Shroud. So 3s to hit, re-rolling 1s because of the Lord. Okay. 5s to wound. 4 wounds. 4 2-up saves. And 1 takes a wound. And then the Reaper Cannon, again hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Okay, 3s to wound, strength 7. Okay, it's 3 wounds. I think he's fine. Oh no, I think it takes another wound. I think it's minus 2. Yeah, -2 becomes -1, so another wound taken on that Assault Centurion. So that marks the end of the shooting phase for the Death Guard. So we need to look at charges. I think the two as a Death Guard player I'd declare would be the Death Shroud into this squad of Marines here, and this squad of Plague Marines into the Stern Guard. So I'm having a measure up and do some rolling. So it's a 4-inch charge for the Death Shroud, a 7-inch charge for this squad of Plague Marines, it's a 10-inch charge for these guys to come in around here as well. So we will do all 3. So we'll start with the Death Shroud, and they definitely get in. Start with the squad of Plague Marines on the right hand flank. They don't. I think I'm going to spend a CP to re-roll that. And there they do. And the last squad, which is a bit of a push anyway, and they don't get in. That's fine. That's fine. I can weather that one. Okay, so I'll move them in and get on to the fight phase. Okay, so we spent a CP on Vermid Whispers, so we add 1 to the attack roll because we're going to go for the cleave attack, which is -1. So we're heading it back down to 2s. So 2s to hit, and all but 1. Okay. Now, because of contagion, etc., it's going to be 2s re-rolling 1s. Okay, and everything goes through. So -3 becomes -2, so 12 5-up saves. You got this, guys, not a problem. Maybe you don't. Okay, so 2 wounds each. That's the squad completely wiped. So we're going to move on to the other squad of Plague Marines. I'm going to start with the knives. And 3 hits. Now 3's to wound. We're rolling that 1. Okay. And 3-up save, which he makes. Okay. Let's go on to the champion with his Power Fist. All 3 hit. All 3 wound. Oh dear. So now the flail, so after the champion tears 2 of the stern guard down, we go on to the flail. 2 hits. Rerolling that 1. That's 2 wounds. And -2 becomes -1, so 4s. Another one goes through and kills another Marine. Okay. Okay, so the last one is the axe. So hitting on, there's nothing, no minuses from the axe. No, so hitting on 3s, both hit. Strength 6, so wounding on 2s, we're rolling 1s. Okay, so 2 go through, and it's -2 becomes -1, so 4s. And kills 1 more. Morale's going to be a thing. Okay. So seeing his squad cut down before him, leaving the sergeant alive, he has 4 attacks back, hitting on 3s. 6s explode. Okay. So wounding on 4s because of the +1 for the power sword. Nothing. Okay. So with that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. There will be a morale for this sergeant, which he fails. And he runs. Okay, so that's that Stern Guard squad. So after the Stern Guard are brutally cut down, the Plague Marines inch their way forward. And suddenly, staring down on this assault Centurions, the chaplain, the librarian, and this one squad of Marines left, is a wall of death and decay. Let's move on to Space Marines, turn 3. So at the start of the Space Marines turn 3, just need to do the chaplain's litanies. So we're going to go for the Litany of Faith, Litany of Hate, which goes off, and the we're going to go for the Mantra of Strength, I think, which goes off. So on to the Space Marines movement phase. So you join us at the end of the movement phase, and the Space Marines have decided that aggression is, attack is the best form of defence. So they're pushing out, they're pushing away from this objective here at the edge of the board, and they're moving their way forward. This squad of Space Marines, with the chaplain behind them, heading towards these Plague Marines. This squad of Assault Intercessors heading towards the Death Shroud to see if they can stop them in their tracks, backed up with the librarian. So with that being said, we'll head on to the psychic phase. So we're going to do a smite into the Death Shroud, which goes off. We just checked in our range. Nope, seemed pretty good. So, and that does 3 mortal wounds onto a Death Shroud. Sorry, there's 2 mortal wounds onto the Death Shroud. leaving 1 on 1 wound remaining. And then we'll do Psychic Fortress to give the Assault Centurions a 5-up in bun, which also goes off. Okay, so all that done, we're on to the shooting phase. So, nearing the end of the shooting phase, everything from this squad has fired into the Plague Marines, doing no damage whatsoever. The same from the Chaplain, and the same from the Librarian into the Death Shroud. What we'll do now is we're going to fire everything from these Assault Centurions into the Death Shroud, see if we can finish them off, or do some damage of some sort. So we'll start with some tracer fire with the Hurricane Bolters. Okay, so that's 18 shots hitting on 3s. Reeling on 5s. So that's 3, 5, 6. So 6 saves. And 1 does go through and kills that last one. I'm going to spend a CP, I think, because it's really annoying. Oh, for goodness sake. Okay. And now 6 melter guns into the Death Shroud. Let's see what we can do. Okay. 3 wound. All 4 wound. 4 4-ups. 2 go through, and I've used a reroll. Okay. Right. So at this range it's D6 plus 2. So let's do the first one. Which is 4 reduced to 3. So that kills 1. And the second one, that was a 3, that's a 5, reduced to 4, kills the second one. So with that, a critical chunk of the Death Guard army melted to slag by the Assault Centurions. Okay, that's a significant blow out there. Let's see what happens next. So keeping in that vein, onto the charge phase, and we're going to declare charges with this squad, the Chaplain going into those Plague Marines, then these Assault Centurions are going to go into those Plague Marines, and see if we can clear our lines and set up a new barricade further up the cargo bay. Okay. So we'll do a few measurements, see where we are, and roll off. Okay, so we'll roll off. It's obviously pretty much an auto in, but I want to roll for distance because I want to get the Chaplain in, which, because of the +1 to the charge, it's only a short charge there. Same for the Assault Centurions, but it's a good 8-inch charge for the Librarian if you want to try and keep him within a unit for lookouts there. So start with the Tactical Marines. They get an 8, which will get them all the way through. And then the Chaplain, he's definitely in. The Assault Centurions, definitely in. And the Librarian fails. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too fussed about that 5-up. 5-up Psychic Fortress at the minute. So, yeah, I think I'll leave that. Okay, so we're going to start with the Chaplain, who gets 5 attacks on the charge, 3 attacks base, 1 attack for shock assault, and 1 attack for his Mantra of Strength. And because of that Mantra of Strength and his Warlord trait being the Amble of Strength, he is now Strength 9 on the charge. So he is hitting on 2s, 6s explode, and everything into that squad of Plague Marines. Excellent. So two more hits go in. So he's got 7 hits from 5 attacks. Not bad. Hitting on 3s. Like I say, wounding on 3s, strength 9, toughness 5. That is not bad at all. Okay, so it's -2 becomes -1. But it's now a damage 3 weapon because of mantra strength, so any of these fail, it's a dead plague marine. And that isn't bad, but 3 fall. So because the Litany of Hate got off, the squad of tactical marines are re-rolling all their hit rolls. So not too bad. Okay, so we've got 1 6 in there, so add back in. But the wound is the kicker here. So 5's to wound, 3. So 3 wounds, 3 3-ups, and they're fine. So on to the Assault Centurions, hitting on 3s, again 6s explode. There's no minus for their fists, their siege drills. Okay, so 2's to wound. There's strength 10, toughness 5. Okay, so it's 3, 6, 8. So that's 8 6s, and again, any of these, it's -4 becomes -3, and it's a 3 damage weapon becomes 2. So each one failed. It's a dead plague marine. Well, that is not a bad effort, but 1 2 3 4 5, that does kill the squad. And so on the fight back here, everything's going to go into the chaplain from the Death Guard perspective. They want that warlord dead. They want that inspiring character for the Space Marines dead. So we'll start with the champion. 2 hits, 2 wounds. Oh no, he's failed them both. I'll spend a CP. Okay, he's failed 1. Okay. After taking a wound and failing another wound, puts the chaplain down to 2. And that marks the end of the Space Marines' turn. So not bad. We've tied a unit up in combat, which is going to hopefully keep them relatively safe, depending on what the Death Guard do. But we have cleared the lines. We have made a significant dent into the Death Guard's forces. So let's see what Death Guard do. Turn 3. So at the end of the Death Guard movement phase, we've actually fell back with these 2, because remember, the objective of the Death Guard is to get across this line. It's not to engage the enemy, it's not to do anything, it's to get across this line. If they can take some with them on the way, that's great. This squad of Plague Marines and the Plague Caster have moved up, and as have the Blight Lords. It's a long charge, but certainly makeable, if we're certainly doable. To get them pole vaulted, to get them catapulted up the board. It would leave the Lord exposed. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens on Death Guard turn 3. So the Plague Caster is going to cast 2 powers. You're going to start with the Smite into the Plague Marines. So let's see if that goes off. Which it does on a 7. So can it be denied? Because you're now in denial range. Yes, it can. So it doesn't go off, and the pestilential fallout then therefore doesn't go off. So let's do Curse of the Leper, which doesn't go off, so I'll spend a CP to re-roll that, and it still does not go off. Okay, that's a bit of a bust for the Death Guard psychic phase. So with that, we'll move on to the shooting phase. Got over here, and everything's going to go into these Plague Marines here. So we'll start with the Sergeant's plasma pistol, which hits and wounds and puts a wound onto one of that squad. And then we'll go for the bolter shots. All hit. 3's to wound now because of contagion. Okay. And it kills that one on 1 wound. So now the blight launcher. 2 hits. 2's to wound, re-rolling 1s. 2 wounds. And they're fine. It's good. Just because we want to make an impact on the number of hits that go through to that librarian, because everything from this Terminator squad is going to go into the librarian in an effort to give the Psyker free reign, the playcaster free reign, rather than risking those denies. So everything's going to go in. We're going to spend a CP on Vermid Whispers, which adds 1 to the attack roll, the hit roll. So hit on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Okay, re-roll those 2 1s. Okay, everything hits. And so strength 4, toughness 4, so force to wound, because that librarian is not in contagion range. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so 7 2-up saves. He takes a couple of wounds for his trouble. So now it's the heavy Reaper cannon. All hit. 3's to wound. Oof. Okay. And -2 becomes -1 and takes 2 more wounds. He's got 1 wound remaining. So now with all the shooting out of the way, let's go for a couple of charges, see if we can get these Marines, these Death Guard up the board. So we'll declare a charge from this Plague Marine squad into these Space Marines, and the Terminators into the Librarian. So the Plague Marine charge is a 6-inch charge, which they fail. Okay, and the Terminator charge is a 10-inch charge, which they fail. So I spend a CP, my last CP, and they still fail. Okay. So with that, that marks the end of the Death Guard turn. End of turn 3. The Death Guard are in the mid-board. They're making their way forward. They have had a squad which is going to pull the Chaplain and maybe these Marines back to deal with. So let's see what the Space Marines do. Space Marines, turn 4. So in the command phase for the Space Marines, we're going to do a roll for his litanies for the Chaplain. So we'll roll for the Litany of Hate, which goes off, and the Mantra of Strength, which does not go off. Okay. So at the end of the movement phase, the Chaplain's brought himself back to try and deal with these two, rather than advance forward. But this squad of Marines have pushed forward to hold up those Plague Marines there. The Assault Centurions have come back round from the containers back into this firing alley to try and take on these Blight Lords, and the Librarian has moved himself forward into support of those Centurions. So we'll start with the Librarian, and we'll start with a Psychic Fortress, I think, which goes off. So they've got a Faber Pinvun. I don't think I'll deny that. I'll choose the denies, but I'll go for a Smite. And that just goes off. So I will attempt to deny that with the Psyker, and I do. So there's no Smite. Okay, so that being done, onto the shooting phase. So we just fired with this squad here, and we managed to, using the bolt weapons, finish off the one that's on one wound, and with the flamer put another wound on another one. So we'll come round to the chaplain, firing everything into those two plague marines. So 3 hits, 1 wound, and they're fine. So now we'll do the librarian into the death shroud. 5s to wound, no wounds. So I'll get some dice ready and we'll do the assault Centurions. So start with some tracer fire from the hurricane bolters. 5s to wound, 3 wounds. 3 2-up saves. We tickle one, okay. So, melter guns, 6 shots, hitting on 3s. Okay. Wounding on 3s. It's 2 wounds. 2 4-up invulnerables. I've not got any CP left. I used the reroll, so it's going to have to be worn. Right, let me just check something. Let me just check some distances. Yep, they are within half range. So the first one, yeah, kills that one that had 1 wound taken off of it. Second one, DC, that's 4, so it kills another one. Okay, that's 2 Blight Lords gone. That'll make a big difference. So on to the charge phase, and we'll charge the chaplain into these plague marines. We'll be charging this squad of marines into the plague marines there, and we'll be charging the everything here, including the librarian, up into there to try and keep that 5-up invuln. Okay. So the chaplain got a 3 and the squad got a 7, so they're both in. So we need a 6 for the assault Centurions to be in and an 8 for the librarian. So let's go for the assault Centurions, which are in on a 9. Let's see if we can get the librarian there with them. No. Okay, how bothered am I? They're a 2-up save. So I don't think it'll trigger a 4 or 5-up invuln anyway with most of those weapons, so I think I'm not that bothered. So we'll just leave it as it is and save the CP. So we'll start over with the chaplain, but the mantra of strength didn't get off, so there's only 3 attacks base with 1 attack for shock assault. So we need everything to count here. So hitting on 2s, 6s explode. Excellent. Okay. It'll be strength 8, so wounding on 3s. Oh no. Right. So 2 saves, -2 becomes -1, so 4-ups. And that's a damage 2 weapon becomes damage 1 weapon, so he's only put 1 wound on. So damage 3 becomes damage 2, so it does kill one of those plague marines. But quite crucially, it hasn't killed them both. And with a power fist, got every chance to take down that chaplain and go on his merry way through that objective and win the game. Let's see what happens. So let's see what happens with the various other pieces of combat. We'll move on to the Marines next. We'll do that off camera. Okay, so all the attacks went in from the Marines doing 1 wound, which was duly saved. So we'll head on to the assault Centurions. So quite the number of attacks coming in. 3 attacks base, 4 attacks for the sergeant, adding 1 for shock assault. That's quite a lot coming in. So everything hidden on 3s. And a couple of 6s for good measure. Wounding on 3s. So that's 7 on the 4 up invulnerable. Let's see how we get on. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so that's 4 go through. So there were 3 damage weapons, so reduced down to 2 damage. So kills 1, kills 2. So what we'll do in this instance is we'll remove the champion and we'll remove the other Terminator with the Reaper cannon, because then we've got the flail, which is going to give us the most number of attacks. I couldn't, by the way, heroically intervene because I couldn't get the Lord's base through the Terminator's base, so it wouldn't have counted as a heroic intervention because I couldn't complete the move. Otherwise, you're absolutely right, I would have done. Okay, so let's start the fight back and see what the Death Guard can do. So after the fight back over here, I managed to kill 1 Marine and put a wound on another one. But we'll go over to the Terminators over here. So 6 attacks with the flail, hitting on 3s. And re-rolling that 1 into another 1. So it will be 3s to wound. And re-rolling that 1 because of plague weapons. So all 4 wounds go through, and it's -2 becomes -1. So let's see how we get on. So 3 ups. So that kills the one with 2 wounds remaining, and that kills another. So that is 2 Centurions cut down by the flail alone. Man. Okay, so here's the pretty clutch move. It's this Plague Marine Champion versus the Chaplain of the Ghost of the Forge. So let's see, 2 wounds to get through. Can he bring him down? So hitting on 4s because it's unwieldy. 1. Running on 2s. Oh no, I don't think I have any CP left. Okay. Right. So at the end of the Space Marine's turn, we've managed to make a severe dent in Captain Tripp's bodyguard. His retinue of Blightlord Terminators is reduced sorely down. It will be a morale there, which I'll roll for now. I think he's okay. Let me just check. Yep, he's fine. Leadership 8, they've lost 4. It equals the leadership, so that's fine. So now, both sides have precious little left. What can be done? Let's have a look at Death Guard. Turn 4. So, the end of the Death Guard movement phase, remembering the mission, remembering our objective is to get through this gate, to get through here. So this lone plague champion has fell out of combat in an effort to move forward, and again dragging this chaplain with him if he has to. This squad of plague marines has fell out of combat again, bringing themselves closer. Again, next turn, depending on where the chaplain is, could give them that advance if they're able to get over for a charge. And the same over here, the Blightlord, because the way we took the Assault Centurions away, the Blightlord was out of combat, so he could move forward and he can then make that charge to the Librarian. Same for Captain Trips. So there's a fair amount of stuff going on. The Psych has remained here and will focus a lot of his psychic powers around here and try and clear this squad away. So we're going to start with the psychic phase, and we're going to do the 2 powers. We're going to do a Smite and Curse of the Leper. We're going to start with Curse of the Leper onto this squad here because we've got more to get through. Which perils. I'm going to have to spend my CP to re-roll that. Okay, so that goes off on an 11. I don't think I'll bother trying to deny that. But what it does do with Pestilential Fallout, it kills that 1-on-1 wound remaining. So now we get to roll 7 dice. And anything that's a 4, 5 and 6 causes a mortal wound. Oh, okay. So 2.5, 1.5 are dead. So leaving the Sergeant alive, we'll go on to a smite, which goes off, which I will attempt to deny, which I do deny on an 11. So the smite does not go off, and therefore the Pestilential Fallout does also then not go off, crucially. So we would go on to the shooting phase, but there's pretty much nothing to shoot because these guys fell back, this guy fell back, and don't really have any shooty weapons. So that being done, that was a nice quick phase, and we'll head on to the charge phase. So what we're going to do, we're going to charge the Plague Caster into this one remaining Marine, see if we can finish him off, and again pole vault the Marine forward, and then the Blight Lord and the Lord of Contagion are going into the Librarian. We're ignoring, at our peril I know, but we're ignoring that Assault Centurion. So we'll start with the Plague Caster, who's in. Then we'll go on to the Blight Lord, who is in, and then on to the Lord of Contagion, who is in just. Okay. We'll start with the Plague Caster, hitting on 3s, not bad. Wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. Okay, and it's -1 becomes -0, so 3 ups. And even with a reroll, he tears down that Space Marine Sergeant. And so we'll move on to Captain Trips himself. He fancies shedding some blood in this grid. So hitting on 3s because of the -1 to hit. Okay. Because it's got the glory of Reaper of Glorious Entropy, it's strength ×2, so it's strength 10 versus toughness 4 now, toughness 3 now, so 2s to wound, re-rolling 1s. Okay, so all 3 go through. So it's -3 becomes -2. So it's on a 4-up save for the Librarian. And again, even if I chose a re-roll, that Librarian is torn down. So that marks the end of the Space and the Death Guard's turn. So suddenly, there's not a lot left for the Space Marines. We have a Chaplain and an Assault Centurion, that's it. So as we move on to the Space Marines turn 5, we've got some decisions to make. Which way does the Chaplain go? How's that Assault Centurion? Which way is he going to move in order to prevent Captain Trips making his way through? So let's have a move on to Space Marines turn 5. So into the command phase, and we'll do yet again the Litany of Hate, which goes off, and the Mantra of Strength, which goes off on a 3. Okay. So it's nice and quick movement phase, as you can imagine. So the Chaplain has brought himself back. He is going to chase down this champion. He cannot afford even 1 to get through. Then the Assault Centurion has moved his way forward again to try and get himself into charge range and bring down Captain Trips. So what we'll do is move on to the shooting phase. So we'll start off with the chaplain, everything into... actually he's going to do everything into the Blight Lord. They all hit. 3 wounds. And strangely, he's fine. So now we'll do everything from the Assault Centurion, Hurricane Bolters into the Blight Lord. 5s to wound. And he's fine. Now we'll do, because he is closer and he's not protected, we are going to do the 2 melters into Captain Trips. Both hit. Do a reroll, 1 wound on the 4-up invulnerable, which he makes. Okay, so end of the shooting phase, nothing done, nothing expected to be done, to be fair. So let's move on to the charge phase. So do some measurements and get rolling some dice. So the chaplain was an auto in, I rolled it, and he got a 9, and we brought him round here to face down the Marine. This, just don't roll snake eyes. It's a 3-inch charge with to get myself within an inch with the +1. So just don't roll the snake eyes. No, he's in. So we'll start with the chaplain. He has got both things off, so he's going to get 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, 6s exploding. That's okay. He must be out of breath or something. Wounding on 2s, so 2 wounds go through. -2 becomes -1, so 4 ups. And it's a damage 3 becomes damage 2, so it does kill that Plague Marine. And as he tears down that last Plague Marine in that squad, he roars his defiance, dares the Death Guard to come any closer to him, and shouts encouragement to the Assault Centurion to tear down Captain Trips. As the Assault Centurion fires up the siege drills and goes launching in towards Captain Trips. So again, 5 attacks on the charge for the sergeant, hitting on 3s, and 6s explode, so all go through. Strength 10 versus toughness 5, so 2s to wound. So 4 go through, so that's 4 up invulnerable saves to save Captain Trips. Oh no. Oh dear. And with that, Captain Trips, with a blink of teleportation, Captain Trips is teleported back to the battle barge and where she came from. So that marks the end of Death Guard turn 5, Space Marines turn 5. So move on to Death Guard turn 5 and see what they can do as this last ditch effort to get through this barricade. Can the chaplain stand strong? Let's find out in Death Guard turn 5. So Death Guard move forward, bearing down on the chaplain. He's got a lot of work cut out for him. Plaguecasters advance forward, looking to use his psychic powers, the powers of the warp, to rend these Space Marines useless. So we'll start off with a smite into the Assault Centurion, which goes off on a super smite. Okay. No one there to deny it. So he's already had 1 mortal wound dealt to him with the pestilential fallout. Oh, okay, you're a lucky boy. So he's got 2 wounds remaining. So with that, we'll then go on to the Curse of the Leper. And again, it will hit the Assault Centurion. And it goes off again on a 7, so that leaves 1 wound remaining for the Assault Centurion. So any 5s and 6s, because he's now toughness 4 because of contagion, so any 5s and 6s kills the Assault Centurion. And it kills him 3 times over. So that he's torn down with rot and decay and pestilence. The sergeant falls. So all that remains now is these 2 units will charge the chaplain. So it's a 4-inch charge from the Blight Lords and a 7-inch charge from the Marines. So let's try the Blight Lord. And he's in. And then the Blade Marines, they're not. Okay. So everything hinges on this Blight Lord at the moment. So he'll have 6 attacks. 6 attacks as he goes in. Hitting on 3s. Oops. Okay. Winning on 2s, re-rolling 1s. Okay. So winning on 3s, strength 5, toughness 3. So 3 go through. So 3 minus 2 becomes minus 1. So 3 up saves. If he fails any of these, chaplain falls. And he stands strong. He stands strong. And so, still under the effect of his own litanies, screaming down defiance in the face of this abomination in front of him, the chaplain strikes out. And everything hits. 1 exploding 6. Strength 9 versus toughness 5, so 3s to wound. 4 wounds come through. So 4 3 up saves for the Blight Lords. He fails 1. It would be 3 damage. It's reduced down to 2 damage, leaving the Blight Lord with 1 wound remaining. And that marks the end of the Death Guard turn 5. This chaplain has stood strong. This chaplain has held the line. The Death Guard were unable to get through further deeper into the ship to bring this battle barge down. It's been costly on both sides, been brutal, heavy losses. The warlord for the Death Guard succumbed to his wounds, was teleported off back to his dark apothecary. But on this day, this is how this story ends. See you for mission 3. Thanks for watching.